content pieces, finding out what different companies are up to. If they are doing any great things in tech, we start to shout about them. But now it's built into its own job board, and we partner with a number of companies now to try and help them increase their diversity within tech. So it's a really exciting platform.
I know you recently did a survey about diversity in the workplace and specifically technology. Like, what were the big, well, maybe not surprises, but big highlights from that for you and this year compared to last year?
So we did our survey earlier this year. I think the biggest takeaway I had was that when we did it last year, the female tech candidates that we surveyed said that the biggest reason that they would choose a career would be to make a difference. So as long as it was a career path that made a difference and a company that really aspired to that. However, this year it's flipped, and the biggest reason that people were taking jobs was because of if it had flexible working.
Okay.
So the positive news, though, also that came out of the survey was since kind of a couple of years ago, women in tech has grown by about 9% in terms of how many females there are in tech teams. So while 9% might not seem massive, it means we're going in the right direction. We found, though, on the negative, out of our female tech candidates, 76% of them had experienced female gender discrimination within the workplace, which is quite a chunk.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, we found 61% of companies are trying to implement change that we surveyed, and their female techies could see that. So that it's, I think it's reflective of where we are overall. So there's some negatives, some positives, but we're moving in the right direction, I think. I hope.
Yeah. And I know it's something that, we strive to try and get a good, diverse workforce, and a lot of our clients talk to us about it. I mean, is there any advice or any pointers that you would give clients or companies about how to, have a broader reach and how to appeal to more women in technology?
Yes, definitely. So I think the first place I would always start with is look at what you're putting out into the world. So I think a lot of people now are really aware of the wording that they're using in adverts, but are they going to the extent of not just talking about like females, but all kinds of diversity? So is their adverts going to help people apply that have got dyslexia, or is there another font that it could be in? And it's little things like that that's going to set them apart. There is a whole talk also around type of words that are used in an advert, whether that's geared towards more females or males. I think that one's kind of up for debate depending on the person. So definitely, I think, look at where you're advertising, or if you're using an agency, like look at you guys who are invested in their diversity. If you're going to go down with an agency, ask them questions. And same if you're going to use a job board, what are they doing? So yeah, number one, I think look at what you're putting out into the world and where you're advertising. The second thing I'd say is you'd be surprised the number of people who have a hiring process which don't include females on the panel or have any relation to that.
Yeah.
That's really important to have a diverse group of an interview panel. So also there's talk around blind recruitment, which works for some, which doesn't. So where I'm sure you guys know what that, they take out all the details.
Yeah. I'm anonymized.
Yeah. The other things people can look at is rather than doing like a CV, more base it on a skill set. So some companies we work with, for example, they were looking for developers. They had some display bits with us where basically if you could crack the code, you automatically get in an application for the job and they'll take you through to interview. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have a clue what the code was. It looked like a game, but yeah, so it's different things like that. It's not necessarily about a CV.
Yeah.
So that's really important. And then also I think then about highlighting things like benefits, employee networks, all them kind of bits and pieces. From our survey, actually, just to go back to that, obviously I said earlier about the flexible working was number one, but what followed closely after was training. So flexible working and then training. And then it kind of filtered down to things like bonuses, healthcare. But interestingly, quite far at the bottom was enhanced maternity leave.
Okay.
Which I would have thought that would have been higher up. But actually, if companies are willing to be flexible, then that's really going to help. So I think there's a few bits. There's not like one golden nugget answer.
I think what we certainly see when talking to clients about how to, how to try and be able to consider a more diverse pool of candidates. I think sometimes businesses are very focused on the end product. We need to hire a more diverse team without really considering what building blocks they need to put in place to give themselves the best chance. Because it's not as simple as, well, we'll just send them more female CVs, for example. Actually, it's much more focused on more, what does your content say about you as a business? What kind of almost what kind of brand or story are you telling to that prospective candidate? How representative of your organization is your interview panel and your interview process? And all of those things combined will mean you will hire a more diverse team, almost by design, as opposed to we want to do it and can you help us do it? And I think actually it's very difficult to get all of those things right all the time. I think we've probably seen that particularly with kind of SMEs or kind of small to medium sized software companies who have good intentions, but perhaps haven't thought about how to tackle the approach to building that team.
The thing I've always found a slight mismatch is that technology, in theory, can be done anywhere. So it's potentially offers the most flexibility for work from home, but as an industry, it seems like it has the worst diversity when it comes to attracting, women into technology. And I always find that's quite a weird one because you get a lot of jobs that you have to be in an office. So I get around families and trying to build a career into is harder. But technology for me always seems easy, and I always find it is it industry as a whole that they don't advertise that properly? Do they not put the frameworks in place? Because I almost feel like it should be one of the best diversity ratios from an industry perspective, but it's never really sat with me why that doesn't work.
No, yeah, I know completely what you mean. Do you know what though? I think it stems back to the shortage of females in tech.
Yeah,
I don't think that's from anything employees can do. I think that starts a lot earlier on.
Yes,
and I wonder if there's just not enough to implement that change. But I feel like we're getting there. But yeah, I know what you mean. In theory, it should just be anywhere you can whatever type of tech it is, you can do it from anywhere. It seems slower than a lot of other industries.
Yeah. On that, I suppose, and in the report that there was a lot of mention of kind of schooling and how early I guess young women can get involved and get interested in technology. I mean, I've got a 5-year-old daughter, for example, and what from your perspective, what do you think works? What do you think needs to happen more or less at those, I suppose, even at that young age, to help when we get to the point where those people are trying to find work in their early 20s or similar? Because to the note in the report, I think in a lot of cases that's kind of a little too late to try and solve some of those challenges.
Yeah, I think age-wise, I'm not sure how young do you start it, but I know some of my friends who have children in primary school, they are doing coding courses, which I think is really good. Yeah. But I think somewhere along the line that we need to keep breaking down the stereotypes of a tech person, because it's been pigeonholed for so long. Yeah. And I think if we probably shout about more females that are in tech that have done some amazing things that you probably wouldn't correlate to, I think that would help. I think we need to sell tech to younger generations, and whether that be, we sell it as you're guaranteed pretty much a good secure job, a good wage, you work with some tech that probably hasn't even been thought of yet. I think it's how we sell the story, but I think it needs to be probably more implemented in education than it is. Yeah. Our director actually was doing a school visit for one of his kids, and they were going around, and he said, the lady that was taking him around was lovely, and Anthony said, "Oh, what's that room there?" And the girl turned around and said, "Oh no, that's the computer room. That's just for boys."
Wow.
Yeah, it's tough. Still happening. So I think just a lot earlier on, we need to start chipping away at it.
You saying there about your director going into schools, do you think businesses do enough with that, with getting females in technology now to go to schools or local schools? I know there was quite a while ago things like Code Club that technologists could give up their time to do a bit of training in schools, but I feel like it needs to be more female voices and more, we're pushing it as a business, as a recruitment business, but I feel like there needs to be more female technologists and businesses that we can get hold of that can, I don't know, spread a little bit more information and knowledge, because I still feel like it's quite a closed environment and there's a lot of unknowns. Do you engage with with clients that do that or keen to do that, or should they? Do you encourage that kind of thing?
We would encourage it. I don't think people do it enough, though. I agree with you. I think it's definitely, the more that we can showcase role models and females in tech, the more it's going to inspire a younger generation. And I think giving up an hour of your time to go and do that and to speak to a class or your local class or whatever it may be is going to make a massive difference, because you could inspire so many people without even realising it. I think that's another thing that also employers can do as well, is make sure they're showcasing their females in tech, and especially those that are in leadership roles. It's such an easy win if you have got people that are in that position in tech to shout about this is what they're doing. So one of the things we do on Women in Tech, which is completely free, we offer this to everyone, is like a case study section. So we'll kind of do a Q&A with a female in any tech position. Doesn't have to be like a developer, it could be project manager or whatever it may be. And we'll just say, how did you get into it? Like, what's your life like? What's your work-life balance? Like, what do you enjoy, kind of thing? Just so we can say all